What up? I'm New York.
I'm Maryland.
I'm Pennsylvania.
We're religious and he's not.
Pennsylvania was one of the more religious colonies due to the fleeing of Quakers from England. One of the most notable Quakers is William Penn. He was born in England and took interest in the Quaker faith in 1660 as a 16-year-old boy. William's father greatly disapproved of his religious beliefs, leading William to hide his faith. William joined the British Army and served for a period of time, which is something that Quakers would not do because they do not believe in warfare and would not do military service. Later on, William embraced his faith and became one of the thousands of Quakers to suffer persecution in England. Like many other Englishmen, William looked to the New World for religious freedom. A few Quakers had already fled to the colonies in the New World, but were scattered about. William wanted to establish a haven for the Quaker people and test liberal ideas in government and make a profit. In 1681, Charles II granted William an immense amount of land due to his debt to William Penn's deceased father. Charles II named the land Pennsylvania, meaning Penn's woodland, in honor of William Penn's father.
Maryland was an extremely religious colony and created as an escape for Catholics from the intoleration of the English monarchy. Previous to their departure from England, Catholics and Protestants battled for a long time. It continued to seesaw back and forth until Queen Elizabeth was crowned ruler. She was a Protestant queen and allowed for the growth of Protestantism until it became dominant. In 1634, Lord Baltimore, who came from a predominantly English Catholic family, founded Maryland. He wanted financial profit and to create a safe haven for fellow Catholics because at this time, Protestant England was still persecuting Roman Catholics. For example, Roman Catholic couples could not legally be married by a Catholic priest. He had hoped that the 200 settlers that had founded Maryland at St. Mary's on Chesapeake Bay would be the vanguard for a vast new feudal domain. He would grant huge estates to his Catholic relatives, and manor houses styled after English aristocracy would be intended to be built in the fertile forests. Virginia colonists were only willing to come to Maryland if they were guaranteed land. They were dispersed around the Chesapeake Bay on adequately sized farms, and land barons were surrounded by primarily Protestant backcountry planters. Now, you can probably guess how this is going to go, but this led to some rebellion, and which further led to the Baltimore family losing property rights for a period of time. But despite those tensions with the surrounding areas, Maryland prospered, procuring acres upon acres of tobacco. The charter for Maryland was granted by King Charles I. The name Maryland honors King Harita Maria. I'll give you a second to guess why. If you guessed that she was the right of Charles I, you'd be correct. Also known as the Maryland Toleration Act of 1649, an act concerning religion was founded in, 1649. It extended protection to the Catholic minority while also creating less toleration for religions that did not believe in Jesus. In fact, those who denied the divinity of Jesus, such as Jews and atheists, would be punished by death. Now, to me, that doesn't seem very tolerant, but nonetheless, we press on. Because of this, Maryland became a safe haven for Catholics and sheltered more Roman Catholics than any other English-speaking settlement in the New World.
Most middle colonies were identified as religious colonies. New York was not. New York was all about the money. While colonies like Maryland and Pennsylvania were very religious, the colony of New York was never identified as a religious colony. And why is that? Well, it all starts from the beginning. The first Europeans to claim the land of New York were the Dutch, and the area was called New Netherlands. Its longest-serving Dutch governor was Peter Stuyvesant, and he had worked for a long time for the private trading company, the Dutch West India Trading Company. Therefore, as a leader, he was very focused on economic growth and increased trade in the colony. The private trading company itself was also very active in New Netherlands. It set up many trading posts, forts, and towns up and down the Hudson River and Valley. Its policy was that religious tolerance was good for business. The center of the Dutch colony was Manhattan Island, which had been purchased for almost nothing from the indigenous people. It was a major port and trading center called New Amsterdam, later renamed New York City. But trade is not the only reason that New York was not known as religious. After many years of Dutch rule, in 1664, England conquered the land and changed the name to New York. New York remained an active entry point for newcomers from many different countries and backgrounds, such as the Netherlands, Germany, France, and England. The first Jewish settlers also came to New York colony. Different groups believing in different religions were setting up separate communities very near each other in the colony. The first British governor was Richard Nicholas. One of the first things he did after England took over was go out and meet with the different colonists. They were already diverse, and he promised them religious freedom. By the late 1700s, Manhattan Island in New York City had no fewer than 18 different houses of worship, including a Jewish temple and churches for Anglicans, Dutch Reformation, Quakers, and